May only your words be spoken, Lord, and may only your words be heard. Amen. In morning prayer, I would have called that a popcorn reading. It goes on for almost a whole chapter in John, and settle in, we're going to be here for a while. In our Lenten study, we have been pondering how to practice courage, how to live in a time when nothing is as we wish it to be, how we must walk through the wilderness with courage, because the wilderness is not our final destination. Our readings today seem to take us on that journey, from a God of the gumball machine kind of faith, to a faith that rises to a stature of hope and resilience, and allows us to live in our suffering with a sense of belonging to Jesus and to each other. Hope is kind of tough right now. It takes courage to be certain in a time when we crave certainty. It takes courage to be open to all possibilities and sure of none. The Israelites find themselves safe from Egyptian oppression in the wilderness of sin. And you gotta love the writers of Exodus. There is no irony in that placement. They are safe from slavery, and yet it is not enough. They are whining like toddlers. They have yet to come to a place of security and certainty. They are petulant and thirsty for water, and they want Moses and his God to fix it, and fix it now. Moses, who after all is the grown-up on this journey, turns to God for help. What should I do? And God tells him, go to the rock of Horeb, strike the rock, and water will flow. So the people now have what they need. Their thirst for water has been satisfied. They have tasted the goodness of God. But this wilderness has tested them. They have argued and quarreled. They have tested God, and God has been faithful to them in the wilderness. Not because he's rewarding their little coin of petulance, but because God is God. Next, we find ourselves in the courts of King David and the Psalm. This psalm is the Venite. It is the cornerstone of morning prayer, and we say it every morning in Lent. It sings of how God's people have grown since their time in the desert. They are now a powerful and bountiful kingdom of Israelites who have learned how to praise their God. Let us shout for joy to the rock of our salvation. See, they remember the wilderness and the great and wondrous things that God has done for them. Let us come before his presence with thanksgiving and psalms. They have learned how to pray to God. They have learned to be in humble relationship with him. Come, let us bow down and kneel before the Lord our Maker. See, they're getting better at this faith that was so new and so scary in the desert. And they remember the time when they were the petulant children of God. Harden not our hearts like our forebears did in the wilderness. They have learned to listen to their God, for we must hearken to his voice. In their recalling of the wilderness experience, they now understand the consequences of not listening for God. Then something impossible happens. God himself has become incarnate and is walking among them. Jesus was waiting for that Samaritan woman. He was just waiting for her. And she, who is a nameless outsider of outsiders, has a conversation with him. And she argues with him about gender and religion. You are a Jew, I am a Samaritan woman, as if to say, how can this be? Why? such a thing. And Jesus tells her that the water that all must drink to avoid physical thirst. But if you drink of me, if you are in relationship with me, you will never truly be thirsty again. And Jesus does another unexpected thing. He tells her who he is. He is, I am. He is the Messiah who is coming to all people. And it does not matter where we worship, he will be there, mountaintop or temple. This morning, for some people, it might have been the internet. Or people may have visited a parish that is not their own. But Jesus is there. He is waiting to talk to us, to tell us everything about ourselves and who we can be, washing us clean and slaking our thirst for the living water of his presence in all things and places, even times such as these. This woman, in her exuberance, rushes off to spread the word. She has spoken to the Messiah. He is here. Come and see. She's the first evangelist. Because of her, we read, the whole village is transformed by the presence of Jesus in her life. This transformation is brought about by finding Jesus in unexpected places at an unexpected time. In the ordinary task of fetching water from the well at noon. And why would she be there at noon? Because if she went in the morning with all the other women, they would harass and bully her for her circumstances. And yet, despite her place in the community as an outsider, she willingly and joyfully shares the good news that she has heard with everyone, anyways. Now finally, Paul sort of wraps it all up in a bow for us. The result of having encountered the living water of Jesus, we are justified in our faith, and we can come to understand that the suffering in the wilderness builds endurance, and that endurance changes us. It grows in us a character of empathy and hope. So much so that we can be steadfast in the face of the real challenges of this life. And in that hope that we find in Christ, we come to terms with the fact that while we don't know what will happen, it's not about what happens next. It's about what is now. And we can take that to others who are desperately in need of hearing that good news. Because our love for him and his for us is a never-ending cycle of praising and praying and listening and encounter in unexpected places at unexpected times. In these very real times of uncertainty where nothing is as we wish it would be, I have found courage and comfort in the fact that all the water we have on earth has always been all the water we have on earth. And I would remind us that the same water we now so diligently wash our hands in connects us to the same water in Jacob's well, to the same water pouring out of Mount Horeb, the same water that Jesus was baptized with and that we were baptized with. The living water of Jesus we encounter when we least expect it, when nothing is as we wish it to be. Therefore, endlessly connects us to each other and to God. And that gives us hope as we practice courage in the wilderness.